Understand you soon, it won't be long. Keep on, keep running. Running and running.
So we're going to look at volume of spheres and volume of pyramids and cones. Okay, it's the same formula for cones and pyramids, and volume of spheres is a different one. So if I can find the base area, okay, on a sphere, on a cone, sorry, or a pyramid, whether that be a triangular based pyramid or a square based pyramid or rectangular based pyramid, find the base area, multiply it by the vertical height, okay, and then I'm going to divide it by 3 or times it by a third. Okay, so 2 different ways you can write it. Okay, so look at the first one. We've got, what do we know? If we can think about our area, okay, my diameter is 10, and to find the area of a circle, remember I want pi radius squared, so I need to find my radius, so my r is going to equal 5. Okay, I've got my vertical height is over here and it's 10. Okay, so I've got the information I need for this one. What I'm going to look to do now is work out the radius and the height on each of these that we're going to calculate. So 6 is going to be my radius. We can see that only goes halfway, so I'm happy that's my radius, and 15 is my vertical height. Okay, 12 is my vertical height, and to work out the base area for a rectangular or square based pyramid, I'm doing width times length, so this one would be 11 times 7 for the base area. Okay, so looking at the triangular based pyramid, this one we can see is 7. Okay, and remember on this one it's base times height divided by 2 to find the area. So I've got the measurements that I need to work out the base, and again I've got my vertical height on there as 5. So let's have a look at those 4 for a start. We're going to use this formula here, and we're just going to sub in the values that we need. Okay, the base area, to work out the base area, remember for the cone, we'll do those 2 first, is pi r squared. So we can put in pi times the radius, which on this one is 5 squared, multiplied by the overall height, which we can see at the top here is 10. 10. So let's type that into the calculator then. So we've got the same formula, 1/3 multiplied by pi. So we're doing shift pi multiplied by 5 squared multiplied by 10, and I can put it all in one calculation, and my answer would be 250 divided by 3 pi. So if it was on a non-calculator paper, we would use that. These will always be on a calculator paper pretty much, but if it happened to be on a non-calculator paper, you could put it in terms of pi. Okay, however in this particular format it says 1 decimal place, so I need it in a full decimal format. So that's going to be 261 point, let's see where I'm going to round it, 799. So the 9 is going to round the 7 up to an 8 centimeters cubed. So 261.8, 261.8. Okay, looking at number 2, again my radius is 6, my height is 15, but everything else is going to stay the same. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the 5, my radius, which we know is now changed to 6, and my height isn't 10 anymore, it's 15, but I can do the same calculation. Go back up here, my radius is now 5, it is now 6, my height is now 15. Again, press equals, gives me 180 pi. Okay, and hopefully you can see that by doing this we're keeping the same format, and it's going to be 565.5, 565.5. okay, to 1 decimal place. So that's my cones done. Looking at my pyramid, we've got 11 times 7, so my base area to do that one is going to be 11 times 7, which is going to give me 77. And again, all I'm going to do is come down to here. My base area now, remember on the pyramid, is length times width, which is going to give me 77, we've just calculated, and my height is 12, so sub in my height of 12. And again, I can sort of like use the same formula. Delete out, my height is 12, my base isn't squared anymore, but it's just 77, so I've got, mirroring that, 1/3 times 77 times 12. Okay, delete out pi as well. That's going to give me 308. So on that one, 308, remember I want it to 1 decimal place, so 308.0. 77 multiplied by 12 divided by 3. So if we put that into the calculator, 77 times by 12 divided by 3, we should get up with the same answer. 77 times 12 equals, divided by 3 gives me 308. Okay, now remember, like I say, it needs it to 1 decimal place, so we have to put the 0.0 in. Okay, the base area on the triangle, a triangular base pyramid, we've got 7 and 8, so 7 times 8, remember this is base times height divided by 2, so 7 times 8 divided by 2 gives me my base area. My height is 5, so I'm going to multiply that by 5, and again all we're doing is just tweaking the formula each time. It's based on the same formula, okay, but if the area formula changes, we're just putting that in differently. Okay, so typing this in again, 1/3 multiplied by 7 times 8 divided by 2 multiplied by 5 is going to give me 140/3. So I could write that down, so I'm telling the examiner that that's the exact answer. Press F to D, which gives me 46.6 recurring. Okay, now if I want it to 1 decimal place, I'm going to have to round that up to 46.7 to 1 decimal place. 46.7. Okay, onto the spheres. And I've written the formulas for the spheres at the top here. So 4/3 times pi times radius cubed. I'm given the radius on this one. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. What's the radius on this one? The radius equals 1 because I want half of it. Okay, but if you notice on this one I've got a full sphere. This one I've got half the sphere, so when I get to my formula I'm going to have to divide by 2, so notice that I only need half the sphere on this one. So we're just going to use the formula that's at the top here and substitute in the radius. So 4/3 multiplied by pi multiplied by the radius 2.5, and that's cubed. That gives me 125/6 pi, and if I do it to 1 decimal place, the 4 is going to make it round down, so stay the same, so 65.4. So this is going to be 65.4. And the last one, using the same formula again, but this time all I'm going to substitute in is my radius of 1. 4/3 multiplied by pi multiplied by 1 cubed gives me 4/3 of pi, which gives me 4.18879, and so on. Okay, but remember I've only got half of that sphere, so I now need to divide that by 2, which gives me 2.09. Remember, 1 decimal place, the 9 is going to round that up, so 2.09 would round up to 2.1 centimeters cubed. Okay, part 2 of the My Maths for the harder questions based on volumes of pyramids or cones or spheres. Okay, it gives me 2 compound shapes. You can see from the first one, the green one on the left hand side, that it is 2 cones that are joined at the base. Okay, and we need to break them up into thinking about just one cone. So if there's my cone, okay, I've got to think, number 1, what is my radius? So again, I'm looking to find out the radius is going to be 2.3. It's half of the overall height in this case. So radius is 2.3. What is my length? Okay, my length is again half of it, because I want to break it down just to be in one cone. So my height is going to be 4. Okay, and my length is going to be 4. My radius is going to be 2.3. So I've managed to find out my radius is 2.3, my length is 4. And again, remember now I've got 2 cones stuck together. So when I'm going to do the volume of the pyramid or the cone, okay, I'm going to put that into the calculator, but then I'm going to be able to multiply it by 2 to find out the total. So again, let's just do it over here for now. So I've got 1/3 multiplied by the base area. So remember, it's a cone, so it's pi times radius 2.3 squared, base times radius squared, that gives me my base area. Okay, multiplied by the vertical height, which in our case here is 4. So that's going to give me 22.1587. Remember, that is only half of my shape. Okay, so we found the cone for this part here. Okay, so I now need to double it. So I'm going to times that by 2. And remember, we're still doing it to 1 decimal place. So that's going to be 44.3. 44.3. I don't round it until we get to the very, very last step. Okay, so 44.3 would be my 2 cones. The same thing on the question, the pink one on the right hand side. Okay, I want to find the radius, so my radius. Okay, I also need to find my length or my height. Okay, now we can see from the image just here that we've got a cross in the middle, so it says that the height of my cone is 4.2. Okay, but in one way it doesn't tell me what the diameter is. Okay, it shows me the diameter, and you can see we've got to presume this because this is half a sphere. So if it's half a sphere, then that measurement from there to there, if you think about it, a circle, that measurement from there to there would indeed be my radius. So my radius, they do give me, is 3.1. If we imagine that as a 2-dimensional circle, they do give me the radius as being 3.1. So my radius is 3.1. Okay, so I've got now enough to work out the volume of the sphere, and I am just going to write over this one, so it's going to be 3.1 there. So that's going to find out my volume of the sphere. Remember, I've only got half of it, so I'm going to divide that by 2, and that would give me my bottom section. And if I want my cone, I'm going to use the top section, which is going to be the same formula as we've done before. So 1/3 multiplied by the base area, which if you remember was pi, times the radius, which we've found out is 3.1. 3.1 squared, that's my base area, and my overall height or my length is going to be 4.2. So my cone at 42.26698,756, 42.26698,756, and yes, I do need to write it all down, because remember I only round when I've added them together right at the end. Okay, so now I'm going to do the sphere calculation. So again, I've got 4/3 multiplied by pi times 3.1 cubed this time, okay, in that formula. That's going to give me that. Remember, that's the whole sphere, so I'm now going to need to divide that sum by 2 to give me 62.3941245. Add on the size of the cone, 42 point, and again you will need to put all of this measurement in, 8756, which gives me 104.66. So I'm going to round it to one decimal place, 104.7. So a little bit more in depth, I'm having to use both of the formulae for this one, okay, but again I'm only putting in the information they've given me. I've not had to solve anything else. Okay. And the last question, the Great Pyramid of Cheops is a square-based pyramid, so it's telling me it's a square, so my sides are going to be equal. Okay. The base has sides of 230 meters. Okay, and the height, so if we think my overall height is going to be 147, so if this comes up to a point, my overall height is going to be 147. So what do I need to do for a pyramid? Okay, using the same material, what would the height be if you gave the base sides of 290 meters? So let's think about this in the whole nature of the question. So if we did the formula, 1/3 times the base area, so I've got 230 squared, okay, times by 147, okay, and I could work out the volume of that. Using the same material, what would the height be if you gave the base sides of 290 meters? So we need to calculate this first. So putting it into the calculator, exactly what we've got here. And remember, in a normal exam you will get marks for each step of these calculations. So 1/3 multiplied by 230 squared multiplied by 147, and hopefully you can see the 230 squared comes from 230 times 230. It's just a simplified way of putting it in. Okay, press equals, that gives me 2592,100. 2592,100. Okay, now again, they're assuming that you are a mind reader and understand what they want, which is quite annoying. We're going to put in what we know. We know 1/3 times, they're telling me the sides would be 290 squared, times, I don't know the height, but I do know that the same material is going to be used, the same amount. Okay. So it's turned into finding the value of h. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to throw it over this side, which means as it's being times by h, h is going to be because that's now moved. So to calculate this, I'm going to do 259 to 100 divide by 1/3 of 290 squared. So that's going to equal 92.464. So if I round that to one decimal place, 92.5. 92.5 meters high. And if we think logically, if my base area, okay, was 230 wide, my sides 230 wide, it would be 147 high. If I make my base area bigger, okay, so there's my base area, okay, if that's now 290, I'm using the same materials, it's not going to be as high. So having a height of 92.5 from 147 would make logical sense. It's going to not be as high because I'm using more width on the base. Okay, hopefully that's been helpful. Any problems, drop me an email. Take it easy, guys. See you later.